Hi there, this is Zeeebo without the mask and welcome to today's video. So before we begin this video, just a short announcement to make. So if you haven't seen my announcement video in the card above, feel free to go and see it. So in that video, I did some major announcements with regards to the Discord, the giveaway, as well as the reasons why I was masking and why I'm unmasked, right? So you guys will see my face like this moving forward. And just before we start the video, I'm just going to continuously announce my Discord server in case you guys haven't seen the video. So the Discord server is over here, as you guys can see, Zeebo's server over here. And then for the giveaway, is really straightforward. So details is within the Discord server. Really simple giveaway, sponsored by LD Player. So it's $100 giveaway, and you're eligible as long as you do the submissions in my server. At the same time, even if you don't win the $100, you stand a chance to win a Nitro Discord giveaway. So if you use Discord frequently and you want a community to hang out, do feel free to join my Discord server with the link in the description as well as the comment section down below. With that, I'll see you guys around in my Discord server. Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome back to yet another Zeee Best Guide video. So in today's Zeee Best Guide video, we are going to talk about artifacts. And in today's video, I'm going to try to cover everything about artifacts. So for artifact itself, I'm going to cover where you can find the different artifacts. I'm going to showcase the level 10 stats of the artifact and how you can use these artifacts at different stages of the game, where they are used for, what they can be useful for, and where you can find their upgrading shards so that you can upgrade their levels. So before I begin, I'm just going to go into where you can find the upgrading shards. So for this game itself, it's relatively friendly. None of the artifacts are locked behind a paywall. Although you can buy the confining spell as well as the blazing spell early from the shop itself, but I won't recommend you guys waste your money on that because eventually you will actually get all these artifacts within the game as you progress through it. So first of all, where do you find the upgrading shards? They can be found within the growth trials, so they are claimable after you clear a series of quests that is related to different stuff. So for our dear star shard spell is by clearing dream realm bosses on the different difficulty. So I'm just going to collect it, as you guys can see. So common 1, common 2, right, so on and so forth. So once you finish everything, you will be able to get enough to upgrade your star shard spell to the max level. So for the next one, enlightening spell, you get it by clearing AFK stages, as you guys can see from here. So it's quite easy. As long as you're progressing, you should be able to keep up with the pace of upgrading your enlightening spell. So let's collect it, as you guys can see. So all the way up to a total of AFK stage 775. So that's where you claim the last one. And then the third one, we're talking about confining spell. So this one is upgraded, right, when you get the increased tiers in the arena, which is, I'll say, quite achievable as long as you are growing in the game, as long as you are strengthening your unit. So let's claim it. Right, adapt 1, adapt 2, adapt 3. Okay, moving forward. So the last tier is legend 1. So I think legend 1 should be quite achievable even if you're a free-to-play player. So you can get the upgrading shards. And then for blazing shard, right, it's from the legend trial tower. So let's claim it. Okay, so up to level 60. So once you clear all the shards from your growth trial itself, as you guys can see, I cleared out everything. You will be able to upgrade your artifacts all the way to level 10. So you can also claim the Iron Wall shard from the corrupted creatures, and you can also claim the awakening spell one from clearing the story quest itself, which I already done with this account. So you guys don't see any shards related to the story quest because I've done it long time ago with this account. And for the corrupted creatures, I didn't bother doing for this account yet. So I cannot show you guys what's the max number, but just know that as long as you are clearing through the story, as long as you are doing the corrupted creatures, you will be able to claim all the upgrading shards. Okay, so next I'll run through where you can find these artifacts, which part of the game can you find it, as well as what are the usage when you use it, and you know whether or not these artifacts are good in the late game. So I'll start off with the very first one, Iron Wall spell. So for Iron Wall spell, right, where you get it is after you defeat Eomir in the Dark Forest 7. So I think most people who have progressed to that stage should have seen this. This is one of the most powerful early game content pushing artifacts. Really good because most of the players have their tanks really beefed up in terms of tiers. So the single target buff that it provides from your front line is really insane and allows your front line to buy enough time for your back line to do whatever you want. So the most common combo will be Torrent in the front line, Cecile in the back line, buy enough time for Cecile to summon, and then you have it, right? Cecile start wrecking ball from there. Other than that, when you buff it together with heals and supportive mechanics from other units, your tank will be basically unkillable. So this artifact, I'll say from the early to late game, will be very useful. However, there's one major weakness for this artifact. It's not really good when your enemies have AoE prowess. The reason is because the buff that Iron Wall spell provides for your team is only single target, and the blessing effect will only be transferred when the front target dies. So you need not buff your tank, but whoever gets buffed is the only unit with the buff. It doesn't really benefit the team as a whole. The only thing that benefits the team is actually the stats. But the stats isn't really defensive by any means. Yes, vitality is good. Yes, haste is good. But the key role of this artifact is to use a really tanky frontline and then buy enough time for your backline. But if your enemies have any way to do your backline easily, this artifact is not that powerful, right? There are better choices out there. So that's the Iron Wall spell caveat. But in general, I think against most PvE contents, Iron Wall spell is going to be really important, because if you're understated, making your team tanky and then letting your backline do what they need to do in order to win you the game is really important moving forward. So that's for Iron Wall spell. Next, we have Confining spell. So this spell comes pretty late in the game. It comes in the Virtuoso Mountain or Virtuoso Mountain 2 after you clear the Heaven quest. So this is a control heavy spell, right? This is a really good late game artifact in a sense, because 3 seconds into battle, you deal magic damage equals to 25% of the team's attack to 2 enemies in the backline every 12 seconds, making them unable to move or act. Okay, so it is move or act. So they cannot attack, they cannot move, they cannot charge up their energy. At the same time, right, the prison duration will be increased to 2.5 seconds and the cooldown is reduced to 10 seconds. So that's just a downtime of 7.5 seconds. And if you put it into arena where the duration is 90 seconds, you guys can imagine how many confining spell this artifact can cast. So confining spell is one of the strongest late game artifact in arena because of the randomness, right? 2 random enemies at the backline. Sometimes if you bind the correct target, right, you just win the match from there. If the carry cannot do anything, you just win the game from there. If the healers can't heal, you just win the game from there. So this artifact is really, really powerful. However, the stats that are provided by this artifact is nothing to be amazed by. I think it's a very, just enough for you to do stuff. The strength of this artifact lies in the control ability and the multitude of late game synergy that it can provide for your team. So in terms of content pushing, this artifact is also one of the strongest in the late game, because if you're understated, the ability to control 2 enemies, preventing them from doing anything while dealing damage to them, is just simply insane. So Confining spell, maybe not so exceptional in the early game, but in the late game, it's a really crazy artifact. So next one, we have Blazing spell. So for Blazing spell, I'll say Blazing spell's usage in terms of, by the way, before I continue, right, Blazing spell is unlocked at the Remnant's Peak 2, so it's one of the later part of the game. As for the usage of Blazing spell, I'll say there's a lot of possible potential, but currently Blazing spell is more so used in very specific arena comps, as well as a very specific Dream Realm, mainly Yeti right now. So it's a very, I'll say, niche one. I think there's a lot of room to explore for Blazing spell, because Fireball deals quite a bit of damage. At the same time, it deals magical damage. So I think in the future, if there's a lot of really powerful magical teams rising up, I can definitely see Blazing spell becoming one of the more prominent offensive artifacts. Right now, I think a lot of Blazing spell shine actually get overtaken by Star Shard. I'll explain why later, but I think whatever Blazing spell can do, Star Shard can just do better right now. But moving forward with more teams that synergize with whatever Blazing spell want to do, this artifact definitely has the room to shine. So this is the late game stats. And the next one, we have Enlightening spell. Okay, so Enlightening spell is one of the best artifact in the early game before you unlock Star Shard spell in terms of damage output, because the attack speed that it provides for your team allows your team to hit harder and faster and then charge up their energy faster as well. At the same time, it offers much higher HP, 11.4% compared to the Confining spell. So 4% HP set is nothing to be scoffed at, because you have to factor in all your fractional bonuses, you have to factor in all the skills of your units. So every percentage of stats actually do matter. So in this case, Enlightening spell, right, if you take a look at the ability, it's a single target buff at the rearmost allied hero, right, up to attack speed increase to 100 for a duration of 20 seconds. So it's a very like, I'm gonna rush you down kind of feeling. But Enlightening Spell is really good for early game content push. And in the arena, this artifact is actually a counter to Confining Spell, because the ally that is buffed up by the Enlightening Spell cannot be confined. So within the 20 seconds when your ally is buffed up by this spell itself, they gain control immunity. So yes, there's still one more unit that will eat Confining Spell, but Enlightening Spell can bypass it because it only causes Confining Spell to apply on one unit on your team, at least within the 20 seconds. So this applies to one rearmost ally, and then Confining Spell applies to two rearmost ally. So since one of the ally is control immunity, only one of your ally will be debuffed by confining. So you guys can see how this is a counter to confining, although it doesn't work in a long drawn out setting because the buff is not permanent. But if you need to rush down your enemies, this artifact is also really decent in the late game. So pretty decent in the early game, pretty decent in the late game, but it's not the meta artifact by any means. So next one, we have the 5th one, Star Shard spell. So this one you unlock it after defeating Cecile in Dark Forest. This is one of the strongest artifact. In fact, one of the most used artifact under different situations. So first of all, before we talk about the situations, we have to talk about the ability. So the ability is, if you have it at level 10, every 3 ultimate you use, you will trigger a flame wave which deals true damage equals to 16% of the target's current HP up to 60% of the team's attack. So this flame wave also reduces the target's attack speed by 60 for 4 seconds. So increase in level increases the damage, as well as decrease the numbers of ultimate used to activate this ability. This is insane because not only are you doing damage, you're doing AoE damage, and you're applying a debuff to all the enemies hit by it. So this artifact is one of the strongest artifact in terms of content pushing. It is also one of the strongest artifact for Dreamer right now, purely because of the ability to do a lot of damage multiple times. The buff that this artifact provides allows your team to do stuff faster with the bonus haste, and in general, Star Shard spell is just one of the strongest, if not the strongest general artifact. In terms of PvP, I think Confining Spell is a little bit stronger, but if you talk about in general, Star Shard spell is probably more useful. It is probably more versatile for different teams, and in general, I would say it's the better artifact in a general setting. So the last one, we have our dear Awakening spell. So Awakening spell, I would say it's just a tutorial artifact right now. It's basically an artifact that gives you a lot of stats and a pretty decent healing ability. But I think as you move through the game, this artifact lacks a lot of, I'll say, offensive prowess. And defensively, the heal numbers are not that impressive. I think if it's a 15% or a 20% of max HP heal, then this artifact might be really useful in the late game because you can just outstore your enemy with stats as well as insane heals from your side. But right now, based on multiple experimentation, I think this artifact is just pretty meh. It's just a tutorial artifact for you guys to use from the start to the end if you do decide to use it, right? Because once you unlock Iron Wall spell, I think most people will be using Iron Wall spell, and then once you like have the chance to actually fully utilize Star Shard, right, I think Awakening just get phased out completely. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this artifact guide. Hopefully it's helpful for you guys to decipher how you want to build your team around the artifacts, as well as what artifacts you need to use to clear the various contents. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more, and I'll see you guys again in my next Zeee Best Guide video. Bye guys!